My friends, watch this. Look at the way history comes to life. This is just one of the many things that I love about old Route 66 and why I love staying at places like this. The historic Hotel El Rancho, where we stayed last night. It's an amazing historical gem, and it's epic both inside and out. But as epic as it is, it's not the only game in town. Here in Gallup, New Mexico, the landscape is littered with classic roadside motels, some of which have been around for a long time. Like the Lariat Lodge here, it's been through several different incarnations of signs over the years, but the lodge itself is still standing on old Route 66. Still looks much the same as it ever did, and boy oh boy, it still has a great neon sign. And for those who love old neon, next door doesn't fare too poorly. The epic Blue Spruce Lodge sign. Dude, one of the best neon signs on the route. Across the street over this way, much less obvious to the casual observer, are the remains of the Cafe Rivoli. Now, as you can see, the exterior of half of the building has changed quite a bit, almost unrecognizable. But the left side of the building over here is much less altered, where the smoke shop is today. You can see the old stonework and the distinctive roof border, which once upon a time was ringed with neon. The inside of that smoke shop looks a lot different than the inside of the old cafe, let me tell you. Now, normally I don't go in for old Denny's locations. There's just so many of them. But in this case, I have a postcard from this exact location back in the heyday, and boy, what a difference. But epic that the building is still intact. And right next door, speaking of intact, check out the old Capitan Motel. Dude, look at that. I'm not sure how they got those old postcard angles. They're so high up. They must have had a lot of ladders out on the side of the road back in the day. This is another one of those places that was around forever. And you can look back through layers of old photos and postcards and see the way that it changed over the years when the highway was much narrower and the place had a much bigger front lawn. Look at all those new buildings in the front of it. It's interesting to me that it still has the name El Capitan, but yet they covered up the old lettering with the word motel and then had a new sign underneath with the same name? Weird. There's stuff like this all over town. Look behind me at this restaurant. Even they've got the remnants of an old neon arrow in front. That is amazing. Now, one that was nearly impossible to figure out. In fact, I didn't figure it out. I was stumped. I had to pull over and ask a couple of police officers if they had any clue where this was. Is this now empty lot the former site of the Log Cabin Lodge? This was an iconic place to stay on old Route 66. It was very popular, advertised far and wide. And in fact, the cop told me that they filmed the movie Natural Born Killers, or at least a little part of it, at the log cabin. Sadly, I think it burned down in a fire. There's virtually nothing left, but if I'm looking at it correctly, this is where the old sign would have been towards the end, and just over that driveway was the main lobby itself. The reason the log cabin site was so hard to find is because some of these places had no addresses. Even on their old postcards, it just said West Y, which is this little spot where Route 66 splits in two. But there were several hotels listed at being located at the West Y, which was kind of confusing, but now I understand. And back to back over here, there are two more classic motels just east of the Y. The Colonial Motel, which is still here in Gallup today, looking a little weather-worn, but you know, still here. And the Ranchito, which is undergoing a little bit of restoration. It's kind of funny because you have the big El Rancho on the east side of town, and then over here on the west, the little Ranchito. That one makes me stoked because even though the sign has moved in front of the hotel, or excuse me, motel, you can see the building's pretty much unaltered, and even the little overhang on the side of the rooms is still the same. Some of these places, like the epic and massive Desert Skies Motel, were just massive masterpieces of mid-century motel architecture. I mean, just the sign. Look at that sign right there. The interesting thing is, in this hotel's case, I really think that that building looks better today with the modern paint job than it did back in its heyday. Look at that. Huh. I think this sort of turquoise color suits it. Look at those desert skies up there. All right, maybe I'm a little bit crazy, especially because I have limited time today, but I had to leave Gallup and come far down this dirt road, only 15 minutes or so out of town though, to check out someplace truly epic. 7-year-old me is freaking out. Welcome, my friends, to Superman Canyon. This is the road in the original 1978 Superman movie where Lois Lane is coming down with her car. The massive earthquake caused by the Lex Luthor nuclear explosion happens. Her car sinks into the earth, Superman comes to rescue her. And spoiler alert, and lots of spoiler alerts, he's too late. This where we're standing is almost the exact spot. Superman picks up Lois's lifeless body and holds it in his arms. You can tell by the way that rock up there lines up with the hill in the background. This is incredible. Superman was here, and so was Lois Lane. And I mean the real Superman, Christopher freaking Reeve. That rock and that little hill in the background feature very prominently in the movie. This old path is where Lois Lane was driving. And depending on which section of the scene they were shooting with the car sinking, they moved around a little bit up and down this road, which, by the way, is now actually called Superman Canyon Road. And the modern road is right over there where my car is. It's a dirt road. It's a little unpaved. You can actually see these rocks to the right and that butte to the left, the little gap here, the canyon, when Lois Lane comes around the corner and her car stops right here. I mean, suspiciously, right where you see this white concrete. Could this have been left over from production? I have no idea. I do know that after Superman turns back time and saves Lois Lane, landing right here next to her stalled out car, you can see these exact rock formations right behind him. He's literally standing right here on the side of the road. Look closely. In numerous shots, you can see this little crack here, especially with that hole, this little divot right here, and of course, these rocks behind Christopher Reeves' super head. In fact, right here is the exact spot where Superman and Lois attempt to kiss, and then of course they're interrupted by Jimmy Olsen running down the road. In fact, you can see these mesa tops as Lois gets out of the car, complaining to Superman that there's never a man around when you need one. And of course, Superman, who's literally just turned back time to save her life, is sort of grinning and he says, "Sorry, Lois, but I've been kind of busy for a while." And then right here is where they are famously about to kiss before they're interrupted by Jimmy Olsen coming down the road. Threw me off a little bit that there's a giant boulder missing, like a huge rock thing that was obviously blasted and busted up right here on the side of the road. You know, right here on this corner. But this is it. Superman Canyon. Dude, this is incredible. One of the most iconic movies of all time. And here's the filming location right off Route 66, 15 minutes from downtown Gallup. And I had absolutely no idea. Dude, Christopher Reeves was here. Superman! I mean, most of the Midwestern scenes and even some of the desert scenes were shot in Canada. So who knew? One of our most iconic childhood movies was filmed just off Route 66. All right, we really got to get going now. I promised a certain someone I'd take them to see a certain something in Albuquerque before I head back home for a doctor's appointment. And then we'll see if we boomerang back to Route 66 and continue the adventure, or do we go somewhere else first? I have no idea. I do know that this road is hecka rough in some spots, and my shocks are already getting bad in the old Mustang. So I'm gonna use all my superpowers of concentration to get through this canyon, back onto the interstate, and push eastwards towards Albuquerque. While I'm driving though, that reminds me, if you'd like to visit Superman Canyon, there's the GPS coordinates for you. When you see the old Rattlesnake trading post, it means you're almost to Blue Water on old Route 66. This one's not as grabby as the old Crater trading post down the road, the Bolin one, but you can still just trace some old rattlesnakes painted on the side of the building. Every time I come by here, I notice it's starting to buckle more and more, which is really a shame, because even in this kind of shape, there's just something fantastic about this building. Hopefully someday it can get repainted again. Meanwhile, down the road, tragedy has begun to strike. This is the Bolin's old Crater trading post, and you can see the facade here has started to collapse in on the building. Oh, this is so sad. Some of the paintings still remain on the side. Fantastic images harking back to yesteryear. But as you can see, the interior is pretty much doomed. Even the more solid section, the roof is beginning to come down. This place was built in 1954 by Claude Bolin, who had been trading with the local Navajo since the 19-teens, actually. Bolin's is now a huge chain of travel stops all up and down the interstates in the Southwest. They're the ones who currently own the thing, and we stopped in here on our epic Route 66 trip like 2017. I was hoping back then that maybe Bolins would step in and shore up the building, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen now. Oh, that's heartbreaking, guys. It's sad to think that our children's children will probably never get to see the old trading post. From the back of the building, you can really get a sense of how old it is. I mean, look at that construction there. Logs and big locally sourced stones. That oldest section has almost a Pueblo style of architecture. Gosh, a lot of hard work went into building and maintaining this place, serving all kinds of travelers on the highway. And now it's virtually no more. Hey, sick rhino. Dude, there's something really spooky about this place. Can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's just the weather, or maybe it's that it's just such a sad ending. Meanwhile, the modern Bolins travel stop is still going quite strong, and I've got to exercise some self-control and not stop every 15 minutes. I better get back on the interstate, because I've got a promise to keep and a deadline to meet. And here we are. Not for the first time, and I have a feeling probably not for the last time. Are you happy? Of course you are. Julio loves things that explode. This is the National Museum of Nuclear Science and History. There's definitely a lot to see here, a lot to learn about peace through strength, or atomic energy, or science, you know, nuclear fission, or fusion, or both. But the reason we're here is that Julio threatened to end my life unless I brought him back here to take pictures with, as he put it, bombs. Oh, there's a good one. That one's fun. Oh, one for Grandma. And, of course, his favorite, the photos with the intercontinental ballistic missiles. Look at him out there. That is a very happy bird. Yes, sir, apparently all his favorite things are here. Well, except for fried chicken. I mean, everyone knows that's his favorite food. He's spending a ridiculous amount of time just staring at them in here. I don't want to hurry him because I know it's his favorite place. But we got here, I don't know, an hour before the museum is set to close. So hopefully they don't have to throw us out of here when the doors are locked. Speaking of which, I'm surprised they let him back in here after what happened last time. If you don't remember what that was, you'll have to go back and watch it yourselves. I don't want to talk about it. I wish I didn't remember. Okay, come on, Julio. Oh no. What'd he do now?
With the owner of a white chicken, please report to the front desk.
I'm not taking you anywhere ever again until you watch Superman 4. You are a bad bird. Foul. All right, well, now that I held up my end of the bargain with Julio and he nearly caused an international incident, I get to drive back across old Route 66 through Albuquerque. And before I head home to California, change the pace a little. Here we go. Old Town Albuquerque. The plaza. A nice, peaceful, relaxing atmosphere. Well, with one possible exception, and that would be the old Route 66 Rattlesnake Museum. Ah, what a glorious tradition. Julio is occupied. He said he had to find himself a dama de pierna de pollo, something like that. So I'm just gonna relax and unwind a little bit before I literally drive all the way back home. Some of these buildings were built in the 1700s, which means they're almost as old as I'm gonna feel by the end of my drive tonight. Today was a little bit frustrating, but only because so much of what we passed through was tribal land, and that's still very much closed down because of the pandemic. But if you're interested in the area that we passed through, or, you know, Route 66 in general, or Old Town Albuquerque, even the Rattlesnake Museum, just scroll back through all of our old episodes, because we've had a lot of adventures on Route 66, and we're not finished, not by a long shot. For now, though, with most of the businesses closing up, and a very long drive ahead of me once Julio's done doing whatever he's doing, I think we've done just about all we can do. But apparently pray. Look at this church. Wow. I love Albuquerque, dude. Old Albuquerque is so awesome. All right, the rainstorm's coming in, and it's time to stop messing around. As much as I love you all and want to hang out with you forever, for now, my friends, we've done our duty. It's time to literally go home and sleep well. Vaya con Dios. filmed. Just fly right in the mouth. Whew, right in the ear. Stop trying to tell me secrets, fly. Look, I was like, yeah, hey.